Hello everybody. It is Monday, August 8th, and there's a million and two things going on in my life today. I'm still waiting for someone to come any minute now to fix my washing machine. But I checked my notifications and there was a comment left on my video that I made about what's missing from The Secret and how to carefully word your affirmations. An ignorant troll man with an American name just left the word prostitute. I reported him for hate speech. So I'm just behind the camera to take a moment for anyone who is confused. Sacred prostitution has absolutely nothing to do in modern times with the worship of the goddess Astarte. The prostitutes that were known as Zona and the sacred high priestess prostitutes known as Kadesha back in the land of Canaan and the temple of Astarte and the other cities that had the temples to Ishtar was a different time and a different place. And I can talk about this more when I get on camera. Now, there are some cultures that still use it as an excuse for exploiting women, and the Human Rights Organization considers it a violation. It is illegal, and it is inhuman, and it is exploitation, especially of young girls who do not know any better and were not given the right to say no. They are using it in these third world countries as a way to say that the women are honoring the goddess, working for the goddess, but they're being abused. Some of them are being beaten if they say no. Now, very briefly, I will talk about the ages. That is when the constellations move at a very slow pace on the outer edge. The age of Taurus brought us the goddess. She was considered primary, she was considered everything, and not even the men were regarded as highly as the goddess. But that doesn't mean it was all perfect back then either. And I don't know, I wasn't there. But the higher station was generally a girl who was trained to be a medium and a messenger for the goddess. And they did perform the great rite once or twice a year. There aren't even any modern covens, I don't think, that do that anymore. We've got AIDS, we've got COVID. There might be some that do, I don't know. I don't really care. I'm here to talk about me and what I have been led to do as an older, independent woman. Astarte is really about a woman's right to be honored. And even though the Hebrews tried to progress and make it better for women, it still wasn't quite right. And I can talk about that more on camera. The leaders of the camps or the villages, they had mistresses, and the wives had to put up with it. Women do have more rights, but we also are still having difficulty looking to be honored. And there are a couple of women, Patty Stanger, she's extremely helpful in getting information about how to make sure you are regarded as a woman. My ex-husband has told me stories about his country. In his country they had whorehouses, which might be called sacred temples. He said rape was almost unheard of in his country because they have the whorehouses. The countries that have these have an extremely low incidence of rape, date rape or otherwise. A lot of apps are used as hookups. A lot of dates are used as an excuse for men to ask for sex at the end of the date. It happened to me twice and then I quit dating. I said no and I got chewed out, so I offered to pay for my meal. Well, men have biological needs, okay? And there is a lot of transactional sex going on in the modern world. Anna Bay is a woman on YouTube who has talked about that in a Cosmopolitan article a few years ago. Thank God she's been honest about it. And whatever two people decide among themselves, if they're not married, and he's grateful for the woman fulfilling his biological need, that's nobody's business. Now, prostitution, of course, is illegal in this country because of diseases and so forth and so on, but I knew someone who was extremely promiscuous, and she would ask for money. She just was not a person made for marriage. She didn't want it. She didn't want to be with the same partner. And she was getting a very bad reputation, and that's another thing that can happen. That's not good. If you think about the stories of Astarte, when the age of Aries came in, as the age of Taurus was leaving, they added the energy of Aries to the goddess to keep her. But they gave her this warrior aspect. What kind of warrior aspect did they give her? They gave her the kind that would punish a rapist with death. Rape was not smiled upon or looked over at all. And King Hammurabi gave prostitutes, sacred sexual high priestess, Kadesha, the same rights as married women. They were not allowed to be slandered. They could own land. Their father could pass land down to them and they would become landowners. They could sell it if they wanted to. They could earn income from their brother's land. Their brother passed away and that land was being worked. They could receive that income. So yeah, there's a lot that has to be understood. And there are some scholars, if you go on YouTube and you watch some videos about the past and how things were changing, but we are now entering the age of Aquarius, which is going to be another step forward for women, even though there might be a step back. We are progressing slowly. Slowly but surely, we are progressing. And we certainly are not inviting all kinds of men unless a woman chooses to. I was told by an ex-friend of mine that there was a high priestess giving massages out of her apartment for money. And it was sex. And she did get busted by the police and she got arrested. So, yeah, it's not something that people in the modern world are really going to try to do without that risk. And it hurts your reputation. You know, people can try to hurt you, and you might have difficulty getting other types of work. I don't know. But it's generally not worth it unless you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Anna Bay got out of it. She was in it. She got out of it. And she's now married to a man with a good job, with a good income. It doesn't always work out that way, but if a woman is allowed to work a little bit outside the home and make some of her own money because she married a man who can't do that for her. He can't provide a retirement account for her old age. And that's really the opportunity that we have to look at and work towards. Women back then really didn't have much that they could pick and choose from. If they became the Kadesha, then they could become landowners. But those were few and far between. So that's all I have to say today. Like I said, I did report him for hate speech. And it's a very ignorant, naive thing for anyone to come here and say to me or anybody else that is looking to connect to a goddess, even if she was considered a goddess who had a temple with sacred prostitutes, it is not that way anymore. Thank you. Have a good day.